On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. I hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Walls sometimes are needed. Sometimes you've got to kind of defend yourself. Sometimes you need to lay out a boundary. Sometimes you want to say that's your side, this is mine, however it plays out. But placing walls around ourselves to separate ourselves from each other, where we divide one another from each other, and we let the powers that were, the deep state, affect and control how we get along with each other when they're the ones with the power, the money, the control, and we don't. Yet they've got us infighting over color, religion, race, creed, anything that they can think of, and certainly political boundaries seems to be a big one. Q's been talking a lot about this and trying to get us, I think, to wake up, to start critically thinking, and to remember that united, we stand a chance to win this. Divided, they stand a chance to win this. We need to unite, no matter what. We need to be the bigger people because we realize what's going on. He's referring back to the shadow presidency, shadow government, insurgency, and irregular warfare. This has been going on for a long time. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that. Don't want to belabor that horse, but that's what we're fighting against. The swamp runs deep. They want us divided. They want us labeled by race, religion, class, sex, etc. Divided, we are weak. We have no collective power when we're divided, folks. But when we're together, we have great power. We have great unity and power that way. So divided, we attack each other and we miss the true target. Again, them. This is Psych 101. They've got us turned on each other. It's an echo chamber. It's that herd mentality, the group think. All they have to do is say something a bunch of times, right? If something's blue, you know it's blue. You've seen it as blue, but everybody says it's black. Eventually, you say it's black. Even though every time you keep saying it's black, you're thinking in your mind it's blue, but everyone else says it's black. So you start to actually question whether it's blue, whether you're right. Maybe you're not seeing it right. Everybody says it's black, so it must be black. I must be wrong. And you start going, it's black, and now you have no concept of what blue is anymore. You have completely lost touch. And that's where we are now. It's either this extreme or that extreme, when most of the truth's in the middle. Most of where we all are is in the middle, not on the extremes. Yet we let the extremes guide us. When you drive a boat or sail a boat, you don't just full left rudder, full right rudder, and pray to God you can make it work out for you. No, you've got varying degrees of rudder you can give. It would be ridiculous if that's how you had to sail a boat. Yet it seems like this is how we're having to sail this ship we call America. Why? It's ridiculous. If the majority thinks XYZ, then XYZ must be true. It's what we're learning nowadays, even though XYZ is not true. And there might be lots of evidence to suggest it's not true. Doctors, lawyers, professors, whatevers. But yet, mainstream media and their doctors say such and such. Well, then that's true, because I heard it on 4 different news channels. They said the exact same thing verbatim. So again, are you pro-America or are you anti-American? It's really funny how this whole anti-American thing is kind of happening. The globalism people don't like us having borders. They absolutely hate them. So they want to reobtain power by any means necessary, prevent public exposure of the truth, prevent accountability. All these different governors, Democrat and everything under the sun, these mayors and governors are making horrible decisions, putting criminals back on the street after they've looted and pillaged just to let them do it again. What are these decisions these people are making? When does accountability come into play? They can blame Trump for everything. If it's slightly cloudy outside, it's somehow Trump's fault because he said it would be sunny. So we are a vote when it matters. We're a dollar sign when it doesn't. And for the most part, they'd rather us shut up unless they need a good rustling around, right? So stand strong, stand together. Humanity can do this. Unity is peace. Be strong in the Lord. Pray for strength. Pray for guidance. Pray for America. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes and critically think. So when they hand you a bunch of horse pucky, you're able to look at it and go, yeah, no, that's not true. I've seen 4 other stories that suggest it's not. So oddly, when Nancy Pelosi reads the Bible, it's totally cool. It's totally okay. When she's out walking around in public with the coronavirus all around her, that's okay. But if Trump goes anywhere and doesn't have a mask on, or the fact that he walked across the street to the church with the Bible in his hand that was upside down, again, it's symbolic for all these guys. She's not reading from it right now either. So the POTUS walks to the church. MSNBC talks about how he cleared all the streets out, threw tear gas out there, blah, blah, blah. But Pelosi, she just walks. It's all safe. Just walked over there. It's all lovely. And then MSNBC talks about Pelosi and the D's are one with the people. The protesters are walking with her. Everybody's happy and together. We got all these fake pictures created of Hitler holding a Bible, mimicking Trump, right? So it's okay when she does it, not okay when he does it. So we've got this whole thing. We'll try to throw the volume off. There we go. But we got Pelosi walking around, as you can tell. She's got people around her, got all this going on. A lot of people in huge support. And then she just keeps bumping into this lady next to her. Got all these people around her. So again, where's this virus? How deadly is it? So again, what's going on? It's convenient for them when it serves a purpose, and then otherwise it's an enemy if it doesn't serve a purpose. Again, everything's wishy-washy with the left. It just depends on where they're at the moment. Post 4399, safe zones coordinated. This is kind of an interesting one. I'm not going to play the whole thing because, one, it's just riddled with gunshots. But ultimately, I can at least kind of get some movement going. Ultimately, there's just cars going around. I guess the safe zone because there's not a lot going on here. I don't know, people running around. I think what the big point is in the stunning development, our office has learned that every single one of the St. Louis looters and rioters arrested were released back into the streets by the local prosecutor, Kim Gardner. So again, I think they're just trying to show that how crazy this area is. Literally, there's gunshots going on in the background, a bunch of gunshots going on in the background. Main reason why I don't want to play it, because I just don't want that kind of thing to be out there. But again, they're just letting all these people back out on the street once they get arrested? Are you kidding? That's not cool. Post 4400, I'm draining the swamp, and the swamp is trying to fight back. Don't worry, we will win. And that is true. The swamp runs deep. Post 4401, we've got a pattern here. This is a cool little graph here from Google Analytics. And this search term, Black Lives Matter. Now, you can see a couple interesting things. One, Minnesota is a big part of all the Black Lives Matter search. The hugest, right? Darker blue. And you got 95 over here in Vermont, land of syrup, and a number of other places. But it's interesting that these couple places seem to be the darkest in color. District of Columbia, I guess, is also in there, but it's so small you can't see it. So again, this is where a lot of the people are making these searches. And I think the correlation's twofold. One, look up the timings when these things happen. So we've obviously got back here in 2016 in the summertime. We've got this one right here in the summer of 2017. But then obviously right now, this term is 100% relevant. Now, just to quickly show you what this interest over time means, that's what this number is. Numbers represent a search interest relative to the highest point on the chart for a given region and time. A value of 100 is peak popularity for a term. A value 50 means that the term is half as popular. A score of 0 means that there was not enough data for this term. Now, again, it's kind of a weird measurement, and it's dotted, which makes it even stranger in my mind, but probably because it still needs to solidify the actual numbers, but there's probably an upward trend that they're assuming is going to make it 100%, and knowing how Google works, they're probably doing everything in their power to help with that. Again, what it's meant to point out is the timings. Summer 2016, election 2016, summer of 2020. Elections of 2020. And this, I think, is the big question mark that they keep trying to get us to think about. What's going to happen then? What's going to happen once Trump wins? Seriously, think about that for a second. Think about how many upset people are likely going to be out there. Think about how many of these leaders that we currently don't like, that aren't doing good things, are actually going to try to wrestle up the natives again. Yeah, it could be very interesting. So I think there's a lot of stuff that's being put into place now that is supposed to affect what happens then. Again, future proves past. It's been that way for a while. 4402, demons continue to serve the devil in his attempt to lead the world away from God and into sin. Got a post here of the devil himself talking. It's fantastic. Let's hear how he sounds. Let's try.
I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020 or even sooner.
Or even sooner. Yeah. I feel like he should have some sort of wicked evil laugh at the end of that. But again, obviously his plan all along was to get this guy out of office. And I think they're trying to make another point that maybe this guy is super behind a lot of the problems we're having. So Trump calling out some kudos to the Secret Service. Apparently they handled everything pretty professionally. Nothing too crazy went on. He talks about what's going on. If people got too frisky, things would have gotten crazy. If anyone would have hopped the fence, that would have been really bad. That's when people would have been really badly hurt, at least. So he's happy no one did that. And he's talking about vicious dogs and the most ominous weapons. It's weird. I didn't know we had a bunch of dogs around the White House. I didn't know that. I mean, it makes sense. Dogs are great. But vicious dogs, it's such like a Russian thing anyway. Anyway, good practice. As you saw last night, everybody was very cool and professional. And he was even talking about how he's given some of the younger officers a chance to kind of get out there and cut their teeth, if you will. So what happens if a breach actually did occur at the White House? Attempts coordinated to capture a horrifying moment. Now, I think what their point is what if they could actually get into the White House? What if enough people could get into the White House in significant numbers and attempt to take it over or burn it from the inside? Can you imagine that symbol and how powerful that would be to all the people that want to see this country fall? That's unacceptable. That's not something that can happen, not something that's allowed to happen, and as Trump's saying, not something that's going to happen. We will protect this house with all of the power we have. Now, there is a lady that we're going to listen to, the mayor of D.C., that tells us how sad it is that we have to have walls and all these things around these buildings. How when she was a kid, she could go anywhere and walk around anywhere and blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll tell you what, you were never able to just willy-nilly walk into the White House. Maybe up the Capitol steps, maybe up to the Lincoln Memorial, of course. But when people spray paint stuff on the Lincoln Memorial, maybe it's time to sort of stop that for a moment. Right? When people can actually look at our national monuments and say, hey, that's cool, I'm proud of that, versus yanking them down or trying to deface and destroy. So again, if someone manages to get into the White House, what happens then? Like, first off, it's probably going to be deadly. So if it doesn't go anywhere, it's going to be a horrible PC stunt that's going to look badly on Trump, of course. There's no way to make that good. Really, the only way for him to win is for him not to allow it to happen at all, which is what they did. They put some great protection in there. I just wanted to point out one thing that I thought was interesting. How many Democrats voted for the 13th Amendment, which, by the way, is the amendment that gives black people the right to vote. Probably black men really is the proper way to say it, because the right for women to vote came up much later, oddly. But every Republican, 84 of them, and the 2 independent Republicans, and the 16 unconditional unionists supported the measure, as well as 14 Democrats. There were 14 Democrats, but as you can see, the vote, 119 to 56, that meant there were 56 Democrats who didn't vote for the right for blacks to vote. For all of you out there that are fond of the Democrats and how they are the chariots and the champions for the races out there, just remember this. 56 of the Democrats, 56 of the, 70, if I add the 14 to it, 56 of the 70 Democrats voted against giving black people the right to vote. I'm just saying, just pointing out some facts. That's all that is. That's just pesky facts. I hate them too. Facts are horrible. They're horrible, nasty beings that require being talked about.
That conversation with some of my team. And I'm one of those people who grew up in Washington, D.C., and has been very accustomed to being able to have access to all of our federal facilities. Going up on the Capitol grounds, our congresswoman had to push back from not allowing slaying on the Capitol, from being able to walk all around the Supreme Court, to walk in front of the White House, on both sides. And now all of that is under threat. I'm also concerned that some of the hardening that they're doing may be not just temporary. And so we would also have to push back from that. So keep in mind that that's the people's house. It's a sad commentary that the House and its inhabitants have to be walled off. I think that's a sad commentary. We should want the White House to be opened up for people to be able to access it from all sides. And I dare say that looking at traffic management permanently is also important.
Don't you find it amazing that the mayor of Washington, D.C. is talking about how sad it is that the White House has to be closed the way it does, and saying it in such a way that actually blames Trump, that somehow it's Trump's fault that things are the way they are. No mention from her about the violence that's happening, about the rioting and damage being caused that's happening. No call to calmly protest and peacefully protest the way Martin Luther King Jr. talked about. No mentions whatsoever of those things. Only that Trump is wrong for doing what he's doing. Now, goal is one thing I think that kind of points to this is just the fact that it has to do, if people could get into the White House, that would be a goal, and what would be accomplished from that. So it would be an achievement, right? Certainly would be a trophy, a terminal point. And also, it's a place where all sorts of other crazy things could happen. So not very good. List of White House security breaches, just worth kind of bringing up a couple of them. But it's happened a number of times in the past into the White House. That's pretty rare. But 2014, Omar Gonzalez. We got Carlos Allen back in 2009, 85, Robert Lata. So yeah, again, a whole bunch of people have done it. Five times it's happened. And then onto the grounds, oh yeah, a whole bunch of times that's happened. 74, 75, 76, 78, 86, 87, 94, blah, 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 blah. It's happened a bunch. So again, they make it sound like, well, this never happened before in the history of ever. No, it's happened a bunch of times. And everybody, no matter who the president is, there's going to be somebody that hates him. Doesn't matter who, doesn't matter when. Every president I can think of as long as I've been alive, there's been some nut job out there that's done something, said something, so whatever. 4404, got a few different links here. We'll go through these quick. Important to understand what happens if breach occurs at the White House, right? This is the thing to keep in mind, how serious that would be. And that would be bad on so many levels, There's no way it can be allowed. No way it can be allowed. So again, one thing that's funny, because they brought up this Anarchy 99. The first thing it made me think of was Triple X, because I loved this movie. Absolutely loved this movie. Some of you may like him, may not like him, whatever the heck. But this was that Anarchy 99 dude with the cool Ukrainian Russian accent or whatever it was. It was very, very cool. Anywho, DC Mayor Muriel Bowser says there will not be a curfew in the district tonight as protests over the death of George Floyd are expected to continue. DC police say no arrests were made last night as demonstrations were peaceful. So again, Trump understands I have to put protection in front of the White House because this mayor in D.C. is not going to do anything. I need to put protection in front of national monuments. They are national, so I think he can get away with that. But again, mayor's not going to do anything. She'd let them burn the street down. That seems to serve her purpose. And I guess it doesn't serve Trump's, but I don't know. I'd like to think he's actually looking out for the country. Pelosi demands Trump clarify deployment of unidentified law enforcement in D.C. This is a great little story. Apparently today, Thursday, Pelosi demanded that President Trump provide a list of the agencies involved in deploying law enforcement officers around D.C. in response to the crowds of demonstrators protesting police brutality. She wants information about what the cops are doing. I'm kind of suspicious who she's going to share that with. I think you might be too. Now, maybe I just put that suspicion inside of you. Hard to say. So what was I looking for here? Goal. Oh, I don't know what the heck that was. That was funny. Anywho, post 4405, we've got an updated list of major cities in the headlines. You know, these are all the ones that got protesters that are burning stuff down. So Minneapolis, Cincinnati, Atlanta, blah, 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 blah. What I want to point out really quick is the only Bakersfield here is a Republican mayor, which is really weird because that's California. I'm just so surprised that any Republican got voted in. I think Orange County had pockets, but it's mostly almost a completely Democrat state now. So again, everyone else, as you can see, Democrat. Hard to say that fast, Demo-rat, but they're all over, right? All of them. I don't know. Coincidence? Could be, might be. Look at this. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, city officials cutting $100 million to $150 million from the LAPD budget. Funds to be reinvested in the communities of color, which is awesome. I love the fact that we're investing funds into communities of color. No question about it. Seems interesting that we're cutting a lot of money out of the budget for the people that are supposed to keep us safe. And I get there's a level of anger because some police officers, some bad ones for sure, have done some things that need to be stopped. I would definitely like to see, not money put there, but I'd like to see the cops clean themselves up. I've already called that out. I'll call it out again. If you got bad apples in your own force, you need to take care of your own brothers and beat them up. That's what we did when we had younger brothers and they were getting out of line when we were growing up, right? Handle the same way. Come on, take care of this. Get this crap taken care of. This is ridiculous. But anyway, there's another major city that's definitely had some fires and some people take advantage of things that's doing something similar. We're going to get to them in a second. Post 4406 is referencing 3608. information warfare. All assets, foreign and domestic, are to play. What basically they're saying is all the stops have been taken out. All of the stops have been taken out. Everything is at stake. Old guard power structure being destroyed, and they are fighting for their lives. And that is no joke. They are fighting for their power, their lives, their everything, because if this doesn't work, if Trump wins again, they know they are done. And they know there's little to nothing they can do to stop this. Post 4407. Important to understand, only the precipice, the moment of destruction, will people find the will to change. So I feel like we're kind of at that point of precipice. I hope we're at that precipice right now. But here's another article from City Pages. Minneapolis City Council members consider disbanding the police. Because, you know, your city's done so well through this whole ordeal. And yes, some bad things have happened. And yes, those police officers did some bad things. But how about more cams, right? That kind of stuff's cool. That kind of stuff is why this guy got arrested to begin with. Again, a plus. And we should try our best to ferret out these types of people. But again, I guess until we get to that precipice, once people see their cities burning down, will they go, more cops, less cops, at least the same amount of cops? I don't know if less cops seems like a good idea. Seems like we didn't quite have enough of them. Maybe. I mean, again, I'm not Mr. More Cops either. I feel like there's a problem with that too. But getting rid of all of them? I don't think that's good. Post 4408. This is a section in this. This is a really long read, and I didn't go through the whole thing. But I did find something that I thought kind of caught my mind, and I think this is why Q is sharing this with us. But the Enlightenment is often associated with its political revolutions and ideals, especially the French Revolution of 1789. Long story short, 1789, they basically had a very long government that was in place, monarchy, and it was like a hereditary monarchy, right? So it was like Henry VIII, Henry IX. It was just, they were always related, and there continued to be that same process. I forget the wording that's in here. There's some French word. And again, it's what they were fighting against. And so what I think he's really pointing out, I'm thinking, is for Enlightenment thinkers themselves, however, the Enlightenment is not a historical period, but a process of social, psychological, or spiritual development unbound to time or place. This individual, Kant, defines Enlightenment in this famous contribution to debate on the question of an essay entitled Blah, 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 Humankind's Release from Itself to Maturity. Immaturity is the inability to use one's own understanding without the guidance of another, meaning you can't think for yourself. You can't come up with free thought. And really, that's what this gentleman's saying the Enlightenment period really was about, was thinkers. Being able to look at something objectively and not have to have someone tell you, this is what this means. You could be like, no, I looked at it. I've got the data in front of me. Thank you. I'll figure out what it means. I don't need you to tell me. So again, tied in with hopefully we're waking up. Hopefully once we get to the precipice, hopefully enough people are starting to realize, and mainly I'm thinking a lot of the people on the left need to kind of wake up, but we've got a lot of people on the right that are just crazy gung-ho, just happen to be on the winning side right now, but we need to kind of get some of that under control. 4409. When media and de-elected officials coordinate and knowingly attempt to prevent a medically verifiable prevention of this COVID-19, prevent death, basically we enter into a state of crisis is what they're saying. I assume they're trying to make the case. There's been all sorts of evidence that's been suggested that the elected officials that are out there have intentionally pushed bad decisions, such as putting older people into nursing homes, putting people that have COVID-19 into nursing homes with the highest risk people, and making it impossible for them to say no, and making it impossible for them to test to even verify if these people have the COVID-19. So you don't even know if you need to quarantine your people or them or what. So again, seems to be a lot of bad choices that were made. So again, we're a vote when it matters, and otherwise keep paying your taxes and shut up. And that's really where these people's minds are at. An important moment for science and data transparency. This is a very interesting little thing. The Lancet announced that its $96,000, I guess, observational study on hydroxychloroquine has been retracted. It's been retracted. I wonder why. The retraction of this story. Whatever would the reason be? Well, it seems like, let me see if I can make this bigger for all of us. After publication of the Lancet article, several concerns were raised with respect to the veracity of the data and analysis conducted by Surgisphere Corporation and its founder and our co-author, Sapan Desai. In our publications, we launched an independent third-party peer review of Surgisphere with the consent of Sapan Desai to evaluate the origination of the database elements to confirm the completeness of the database and to replicate the analysis. Long story short, they were not able to get the data. There was issues getting the data from the Surgisphere because they said it would affect the patients because that confidentiality. So sorry, we can't give you the data. So we'll retract our statement. So what was their statement? Well, in a nutshell, hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine, often in combination with a second-generation macrolide, which I think is the azithromycin and or zinc, are being widely used for treatment of COVID-19 despite no conclusive evidence of their benefit, although generally safe when used for approved indications such as autoimmune disease or malaria. The safety and benefit of these treatment regimes are poorly evaluated in COVID-19. Again, a very strong statement to make that all sorts of people glommed on. Then the second they said, hey, show us your numbers, they're like, I can't show it to you. I made a promise to someone that it would be a secret. So, yeah, it's not working out so good for that. Hey, look at this guy. That looks like a similar book, too. It's like they've got like a stack of these things on the way out the door, apparently, as you're heading over to the church. But yeah, operators are standing by. Love it. Love it. And, of course, got our final one, I believe, here. Actually, I think there's one more after this. We've got, 4313. There's two more after this. We're on 4411 right now. We had another Twitter post. The news is fake. The war is real. Isn't that the truth? Let's give a quick listen here to Mr. William Barr. I actually like this guy a lot. And he kind of reminds me of the dad in Happy Days. Anyway.
There are extremist agitators who are hijacking the protests to pursue their own separate and violent agenda. We have evidence that Antifa and other similar extremist groups, as well as actors of a variety of different political persuasions, have been involved in instigating and participating in the violent activity. And
we're seeing people who are exploiting this situation to pursue violent extremist agendas, anarchists like Antifa and other agitators. These individuals.
So we got the FBI and we've got the Department of Justice, right? All in line here. So it sounds like they're hinting at something, and I think a lot of the times when they hint stuff this way, it tends to be kind of interesting the way it plays out, because they oftentimes you find people just start going on camera and spouting some of the craziest stuff. You get your weirdest Hillary posts at this point. So hard to say exactly where we're going to end up, but we've got some cool. Well, let's check out a couple more of these posts here we got for us. 4412. We are fighting for our survival. Yes, we are. Let's check out this Twitter post, see what we got. I thought this letter from respected retired Marine and superstar lawyer John Dowd would be of interest to the American people. Read it. Paul, this is lost. Never dreamed you would be a bunch of hack politicians. Use your good name. Think about it. She's not upset. Obvious failure of leadership. Where are you, Jim? What's going on here? John McDowell. I don't know. I need to get more time. We're going to go ahead and save some of this stuff. We're just seeing if anything major jumps out. American flag. Because that other one, there's a lot going on there. Ambassador to Candanao becomes 5th Pentagon official to resign in 7 days. Interesting. Tina Cadanao, a senior advisor for the international cooperation, has left the Pentagon. Department of Defense confirms why it matters. She's the 5th top official in 7 days to exit or announce their departure from the Democrat. Isn't that interesting? Ooh, boy, we got some excitement going on again. Remember, boom, 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 boom. We got all sorts of stuff going on. Those loyal to our constitutional republic and our command structure. Those loyal to the office of the presidents and the will of the people. Those who swore an oath to protect and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Those good people who serve proudly for America. Castle Rock. Of course, they've been talking about Castle Rock for a long time. Green Castle, Red Castle, all that stuff. There's been a lot of castle talk. So for God and for country, let's see what this Twitter post has going on. Dan Bongino. is a good guy. I like him. He's a lot. It's 2 minutes 20. I don't think we've got the time right now. This is already running very long. But sources are telling Dan Bongino that there are genuinely concerned people, that some upper-level people in our military openly talking about defying the President of the United States. That's got a name. That's called mutiny. Interesting. Yeah, again, deep state, all assets. We're having some very interesting stuff pop up. I think that's probably part of what's going on with this ambassador. And she, for some reason, just looks like someone that probably hates Trump. Hopefully we make a difference. Again, remember, folks, we've got to stay strong with each other, stay strong, unity as a country as best we can right now. We've got to remember hating one another is bringing no help, no good. Violence towards one another, bringing no help, no good. But certainly do not allow and tolerate the burning and destruction of your own cities. That's not okay either. We've got to make sure that there's peace and that we are properly protesting the way we're supposed to. Again, what happened was horrible. Thank God he was put to rest today. It was a beautiful funeral. I actually watched a good chunk of it. It was beautiful. It was actually very beautiful. There was a long speech by Al Sharpton that was very long, whatever, very political. But that being said, he took advantage of his pulpit, and it is what it is. But again, let's try to be good to one another, folks. Divided, we have no chance. United, we are beyond powerful. There's nothing they can do to hurt us. Where we go one, we go all. On the Fringe, Dan Radio Style.